Hi everyone. Today I thought we would put together leftover packets from Stamp Camp last week. I had two people who couldn't make it at the last minute. You know, COVID people don't want to come out if they have a sniffle, and I totally get that. So we have a few extra packets left over, and I thought we'd put them together. We're going to make these cards. This is the Hello Harvest bundle. The dies are called Rustic Pumpkin dies, and I really think this is a fun pumpkin. You can put the flowers inside like as if it's a planter. Real pretty fonts and real pretty coloring opportunities. We're going to use a couple techniques. We're going to watercolor, and we're going to do some kind of like rock and roll technique with the two tones on the stamping. I think we're going to use a sponge though. I think it looks softer. So anyway, the packets come like this, and tiny pieces sometimes in there. Here they are. Now the dies for these are really fun because you get a die to cut out the actual images, but there's a couple extra dies as well, and it's these three here. Want some squigglies, which are really fun on a pumpkin, and these I'm going to try and hold them closer to the camera because you can see that they have texture in them right here, and to get even added texture I use, and I shouldn't have done this ahead of time before making the videos. I thought about putting all these together, and then afterwards I was like, oh, I should make a video, but I had already cut all my pieces. But what I did to get this extra texture is I just took a marker and I added ink directly to the die. I was careful to avoid the flat surface, and I just got it on this area here, and then it added some darker textures to the bumpy parts. And I know at the grocery store right now there's so many, we have a ton of pumpkins outside that people can choose to for carving and just for home decorations, and there's so many different colors, and there's white pumpkins and slightly greenish bluish pumpkins and deep orange and reds-ish looking and all kinds of colors. So I went with Cajun Craze for this one. I wanted a deep contrast to this background, which is Calypso Coral. And this background is done with this gingham, or gingham. What is it called? Gingham Cottage Designer Series paper pack. This pack is all gingham, and it's different types. You've got all different colors. There's only a few different colors, but you've got some that look kind of Halloween-y with the orange and the pumpkin pie and black, and then there's mint. I've used it a ton recently. I did lots of cards with this. Oh, in fact, one is sitting on my desk, so I'll show it to you. This is like the mint, and it's just a nice background paper, and you get a lot. I haven't sold very much of this, I will say, so I think the problem with that is just the price point. It is high, and people don't realize that this is actually a lot of paper. It's not just your regular 12 pack of paper. I think it's like 48 or something. Yeah, 48. So it's like buying several packs of paper. 4 packs of paper to be exact. So it's just a huge pack of paper. It's a really good bargain, and like I said, I do classes, so I need to cut sometimes 20 cards, and because there's not a ton of different patterns, you can make a lot of the same cards, and I'm using this a lot and loving it. Okay, so the background I chose is this Calypso Coral smaller check, and there's a bigger one as well. Okay. Sometimes I go on too long. Sorry about that. You can fast forward. Okay, so I cut this piece here. This is from the Scalloped Contours dies. I really love these dies. They're kind of a must-have. And I just wanted to add a little bit of color to the background, and I used Mint Macaron. This is one of those colors that I can't pronounce. I'm always worried that I'm getting it wrong. So when you're using a blending brush, sometimes when you first put your brush down, you get kind of like you get kind of a blob, and you're never going to blend that out. I'm not worried about it because I'm going to put a pumpkin on top of it, but so I like to kind of press off to the side and then do this. And all I want is just a little color on the background. And I'm going to do 2, but I'll fast forward the second one. Okay, that's my background. Now I've got these already cut to size. One's for the inside, one's for the outside. They're 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to go ahead and glue those down so I don't lose track of them. And when I'm cutting that 12 by 12 paper down and you're using a 5 1/4 length twice, you end up with this little strip, skinny strip of about an inch long. And so I cut them into half sizes or 3/4 inches, whatever, and I use them on the insides of my cards. I think that's kind of a nice little inside. It kind of brings the outside to the inside, and we'll do some stamping too. So that is the basis of the card. Okay, now in each packet there was also this piece. Now this is shimmery white cardstock. It's not vanilla. You can see that it's darker. Shimmery white is kind of in between vanilla and white, but the reason why we're using it is because we're going to do a watercolor technique, and basic white just won't hold up as well as shimmery white. Shimmery white has a coating on it which gives it that shimmer, but it also lets it go stronger for watercolor. And we're going to stamp this pumpkin. And I'm going to stamp it in Versamark ink and then emboss it with clear embossing powder. You can also use white embossing powder. And this is getting cut out, so it doesn't have to be perfectly centered. Alright, I've got my two images, and now we're going to color them. Some of you may have noticed that I used the powder holder. This is in the mini catalog. It's something we used to sell as a kind of an everyday item a while back, but it's kind of become an only in the mini catalog, so I'm hoping they bring it back permanently. I'm looking for my medium tip aqua painter and I don't see it. Sometimes I bring these with me when I am traveling because I love them so much, and I probably have it in my go bag. So I'll use the small one. This is the aqua painters, or water painters now. They used to be called aqua painters, water painters, and we're going to add ink to our pumpkins. I'm just going to grab the soft suede for the stems, and you'll see that the watercolor does not go where the embossing is. It kind of stays away from that. So it's kind of fun. You kind of have to stay in the lines. Now when you're using this, you don't have to use a different one for each color. I just kind of go like this and rinse it off. And I wanted to do two different color pumpkins just for fun. So I have that mint out. We're going to do that on one of them. Now to get ink in the lid, I just squeeze. If you don't want to do that, oops, and sometimes these newer ones don't squeeze as easily either, you can take a little block and ink it and get ink in your lid that way, or you can paint right from the block. There's a couple different ways to do it. I want to use my pad. That's what I'm used to. Alright, so I'm going to pick up some of this mint, and I'm going to just go all over the pumpkin with a light wash of the mint. with a fairly wet brush, so it's really kind of smearing everywhere. And then with a less wet brush, I'm not really going to squeeze any more water. I'm going to kind of bring more ink in and kind of go along that line of the pumpkin, those creases, because that's where the shadows would be. I love to watercolor, so I kind of don't talk during it because it's just so relaxing for me. But anyway, that's what you're going to do. And I will do it again, but this time I will use Calypso Coral, just so you can see two different versions. Now, if your first layer was really wet, sometimes, you know, you might have gotten a little crazy with your water. Let it dry for a second before adding the deeper colors, or it'll just kind of diffuse out into what's already there. All right, I think I got it how I want it. Well, nope, I want more dark. Okay, I gotta stop myself. And then to rinse, just kind of squeeze out some water and clean your brush. If it's really minty and you don't want to mix your colors, I sometimes keep a little Stampin' Scrub nearby. Okay, now I'm going to cut them out. Okay, one thing we did at Stamp Camp is we gave people the option to stamp this one that already has a sentiment inside that says, "Wishing you the loveliest day," which I think is great for a fall birthday or even a Thanksgiving card. You want people to have a lovely Thanksgiving. But I also wanted to give people the option of changing it up. I wanted to show how you can omit things that you don't want. So you do have to make sure you clean it really good. And then you can grab a marker. Now you can't use your alcohol markers. You can't use a Sharpie or Stampin' Blends because those are alcohol based and they dry really fast and they're permanent. But our regular Stampin' Write markers are water based. So you can color directly to a stamp. See if I got it all. And then you can stamp just the outline. And then if you so choose, you can put something else in there. "You're such a blessing" will fit, or the hello. I did a hello already, so I'm going to do the you're such a blessing. Now, probably my head is going to get in the way because I need to be right on top of it. There. Okay, for this next one, I'm going to do some leaves, and I need a lot of these because each card is going to use 3. So I'm going to stamp one live, and then I'll fast forward through the rest of them. So how I did this is I stamped full strength in the Cajun Craze, and then I wanted to add just a little bit of another color, so I grabbed Mossy Meadow, gave it a little bit of green to the side, just kind of randomly, just kind of gives it a little extra detail. And then I'm going to cut them out, and I'll do all that on fast forward because you don't need to see me make a whole bunch of the same thing. Okay, I think he's done. I started to clean because at that moment, my neighbor 2 doors down started blowing leaves, or mowing lawn and blowing leaves, and it got really loud. Yesterday, there was a wood chipper across the street. It's always something in my little neighborhood. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to assemble. So, we are going to put, whoop, I'm out. Yep. Okay. So now we're just going to place our backgrounds down. And I'm conscious lately about how many dimensionals I use, not because I'm trying to save on dimensionals, but because I'm trying to make sure that there's no problems with postage. So rather than have this up on dimensionals and the pumpkins and the hello or the loveliest day, I'm trying to kind of keep it flatter at the base level. And I don't know, I just feel like I want my cards to get to their recipient. Okay, now here are these weird little pieces. And this is a pumpkin, and it just gives extra dimension by having it in 2 parts. I hear the lawnmower again. I think he's in the backyard too. And I'm in my front of my house. So I think it just echoes, I don't know. And then we've got our little stem. Like this. Isn't that cute? Now I'm thinking you can take these and make an even bigger pumpkin. You could layer several more and make the pumpkin, you know, even fatter, make a giant pumpkin. You can, you know, use a couple of the bigger pieces. We just went for a taller pumpkin because we've got our kind of chunky pumpkin in the front. Oh, I gotta find my stem. go. And then I've got this guy. Now, this one, because it's watercolor, it's kind of curled a little bit. So rather than using liquid glue, I'm going to go ahead and use my tape runner adhesive. And you notice I'm kind of going outside of this rectangle. I meant to go outside a little bit more with that one, but I'll have one of the curly cues extend out. Okay, now the dies come with 3 different little vines, so I'm going to put one of those on each of them. Now I'm going to use my sentiments. Those I am going to put up on some dimensionals. Okay, now I wanted to add some leaves, and sometimes it's easier to do it if, I'm going to see if I can use this one that I don't like so much, but if I hide some of that behind, maybe it won't be so bad. Or maybe I won't use them, I don't know. I decided to cut them out just in case. Okay, so sometimes I might have to, if I'm trying to stick a leaf underneath, you might just want to cut it off because it's easier to tuck under and nobody's going to see that anyway. And there you go. Oops. One final thing I did was add some little gems to the card, and I can't find them. What did I do with them? Well, I've got some of these, and I thought I would use some of these up. They're no longer available. There's they have, actually I think they might be. They have a little bit of a earthy tone to them. They're kind of like a little bit of a gold, and I thought they were pretty. I'll put the name of these gems in the description because it's just slipped my mind right now. I feel like they're current. You know what? I could look it up because I can always edit. Elegant Faceted Gems. Right there, number 11. There we go. Okay, there are my Hello Harvest cards. I hope you like them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll subscribe, come back again, click the little bell so you'll get notified when I create a new video. Bye!